So now we are come to the next session where we have an interesting and I would say an all-star panel where we'll be focusing on subleasing and rent-to-rent, which I believe most of you are intrigued about. So let me first invite Oriol once again as the moderator. And next up, we have Syed Lateef. He's the eight-figure Airbnb host and brings a wealth of experience and success in the short-term rental industry. It's very kind of him. He flew in all the way from the US and he's part of the event. Thank you to Syed for that. Please welcome Syed. Next up, we have Redeet, a dynamic serial entrepreneur. Redeet has achieved remarkable success in the Airbnb business, scaling his operations to seven figures within a short period. So welcome, Redeet. That's all. Next up, we have, should I say Subleasing Dubai or Bergthor? Bergthor Palsson, he's known popularly as Subleasing Dubai. He has shot up on Instagram. I think you crossed 100K today in just 6 months. Oh my gosh. Right. So he's well known for documenting his journey to 100 Airbnb units. He's at 14 right now. So let's welcome Bergthor. So now I pass it on to Oriol.
Thank you, guys. Well, thanks for joining. So we're going to do a kind of an experiment here. We were planning to do a podcast, and we're going to do a live podcast. So what we're going to do is going to be 5 minutes, 10 minutes with each of you. Bergthor, we did a podcast that's going to be released next week. But anyway, we'll do that, and then we can start with more an open conversation and maybe questions from the audience that I think there are. I don't know if they made all the questions here in the break, but I hope they have some questions. So a little closer. So Syed, thanks for coming. Thanks for flying in.
Yeah, first of all, thanks for putting on this amazing event. This venue is amazing. We have so many people here. I'm so excited to be here, especially with my guys on the panel. I was just here maybe like 6 to 8 weeks ago, and these guys made me have a great experience in Dubai. And because of that, I'm back here and I'm looking to start my business here in Dubai. So first of all, I'm excited to be with these guys right here.
Thank you. So Syed, explain us a little bit your journey. What are you doing in the US and how does it work?
Yeah, so I've been in the Airbnb space for about 7 years now. I started back in 2017 when I purchased my first building. It was like a 4-unit building and a basement. I lived in one of the units for a year because that was the terms of the loan. After the year was up, I heard somebody doing Airbnb, so I was like, why not try? So I made that unit that I was bringing into Airbnb, and I ended up making double the rent right off the bat. And by the summertime, I started making triple the rent. And that's when the light bulb went off and said, hey, if I have more units, can I scale this? So I made all the other units in my building into Airbnb, and every unit I pulled up on Airbnb in the summertime was giving me 3x rent. So that's when I was working corporate, and like 4 months in doing Airbnb, I was like, I'm quitting. I'm gonna go in Airbnb full time.
When was that? Which
So
year?
back in 2017,
So before COVID.
way before COVID. So I ended up starting my business, leaving my job. It was really challenging. I first started in the management business where I would split with the landlords, split with the owners, 75-25, 80-20. I quickly realized that's not the model that I like at all. It was a lot of micromanaging by the owners, a lot of emotion involved, and it took a toll on me. I was becoming one of their assistants, and I realized that's not the model that I want to do. Fortunately, I went to this one random networking event, just something like this, where I met an individual that's working at a big management firm that had 1,500 units at the time. And they were in the networking event saying that we're looking for people to do Airbnb in our buildings. And that was like the most rare thing I ever heard. And I was like, okay, I would love to do something like that. I'm in the business. Can I meet with the owner of your company? After a lot of persistence, it was maybe like 4, 5, 6 months of constantly asking them. I finally got a meeting with the owner in the room, and he rejected my model completely. He was like, listen, I'm not in the Airbnb business. I'm not in the furniture business. I'm not going to be doing this management agreement with you. You could stop bothering us. So as a last ditch effort, I said, how about I rent 2 of your units? I will guarantee the rent. I'll furnish it. I'll take on the risk. You have 200 vacant units at the moment. Let me just take 2 of them. He said, if you don't cause me any problems, take these 2. Eventually, those 2 became 4, then 8, then 15, then eventually 35. Then I went to the next landlord, which also had 5,000 units now. And he had maybe 200-300 units vacant. I went to him, started scaling again. Now I'm at 100, 120, and all of a sudden I have this model that I'm scaling in Chicago, and I'm super excited. I'm in my slow season now. I'm taking losses, which sucks. But I'm like, okay, spring season is gonna come. This is like 2020. I took on all these credit cards, took on private loans, scaled my business that winter, took losses. I'm saying, okay, March 15th, spring break's gonna happen. I'm gonna make money again. I had no cash in my account. And then boom, COVID comes. Hits me with a knockout punch, right? I was like, all my revenue from Airbnb went away. Airbnb refunded all my guests. I had $400,000 coming up in a couple of weeks, and I had no cash in my bank account. And I was like, this business is done. Like, there's nothing, no way of getting out of it. But I put together a plan. I said, I need to do these 10 steps. And one of the biggest one was I had to talk to all my landlords and renegotiate all my terms with the landlords. There were a couple options I gave them. It was go on a revenue share, go allow to terminate my lease, or those are the 2 big options. Half of my units went away. We terminated the lease. Other half went on revenue share. COVID didn't end up being that bad for me. There was a lot of other companies that went bankrupt during that time, and I took full advantage. A lot of people went out of business during COVID, but I doubled and tripled down during COVID. There was these big VC-backed companies, mr.alfred and Domio, that they were in the middle of their fundraising round and they couldn't get the funding next. So they had to liquidate all their assets. I was able to acquire 150 apartments worth of furniture for pennies on the dollar. And I was taking that furniture and putting it with the 2 landlords that I was with. And now I'm scaling back up from 90 units. I went from 180 back to 90. Now I'm at 200, then 300. There was a lot. It's a roller coaster where I'm adding, subtracting a lot. I've touched 600 units over my career in this business, but right now I only have 300. So I lost a lot too. Sorry,
But
I keep going.
you know that you selected better the portfolio. Probably
Yes and no.
Ah.
Sometimes I'm forced out. Sometimes I make mistakes. Sometimes a guest makes a huge mistake that makes me lose 30 units because that was like the tipping point where we cannot have Airbnb in these buildings. It's a little different market over in Chicago than you see in Dubai. Some bad things can happen. There's a lot more crime, right? So a lot, and I don't have like luxury A-class buildings either. I don't. So I'm not attracting sometimes the best people. So I've had some pretty bad situations, and the tenants in the buildings are not happy. They complain. The landlord says, "We need you out of these 30 units," and that takes a toll. It's $1 million worth of revenue that goes away overnight because of a mistake that a guest made, which is what I made. I made the mistake. I screened them, and I brought in the wrong guest, right? So there has been problems that I've gone through that I lost units, but it's a long game. It's going to be plus and minuses, and at the end of the day, it's making a good revenue. Like, for example, this last year, I made $11.5 million worth of revenue. It's pretty good. 8-figure business is really good, right? That's not my profit. My profit is like, single digit, 10%, 10 to 14% type margins. But that's a good business for me. I'm happy. Yeah.
It's probably what the property managers have as well. So
yeah,
that's pretty good.
So I hear the margins in Dubai are much bigger from my colleagues over here. But now I'm in Dubai. And like these guys gave me a great experience when I came last time. And we had such a good time. And I was like, this is the type of energy and type of people I want to be around. Like ambitious, driven, amazing people, high level people, people that want to meet like this and network and do big things. I wasn't getting at home, right? So I feel like this is my next chapter in my life. And I want to take the steps to start this business just like many of you guys. I'm starting at the same page as you guys. Learning. I'm learning from Redeet and Bergthor. How do I start an entity in Dubai? How do I get my first lease? How does checks work? How does licensing work? I'm learning now, right? I do have the background in the Airbnb business where I like helping them, but they're helping me get started here. And I'm excited to start my journey and document my journey, like how these guys are. Mr. 100,000 followers over here. He's like a celebrity to me now, you know? So when I was here 2 months ago, 6 weeks ago, it was 30,000 followers. So this guy, he's blowing up. So it's exciting to see his journey and his growth. And then Redeet is starting his social media now, and he's going viral already. And I'm like, wait, I want to go viral too. Let me start it now. Let me start posting content. So I want to find they could tell players, but do follow me on Instagram at Airbnb.
Thank you. So actually, I was talking with some real estate agents and I'm doing some transactions. And I told them, by the way, we had confidence. We had a podcast, Next Gen Rentals, Holiday Homes, all this. "Ah, yeah, yeah. We follow a guy called Subleasing Dubai." I'm like, come on, we're doing all this, and then Bergthor takes all the credit to follow us. So anyway, thanks for the story. We're going later to the common how to create a business, how to grow it. But Redeet, explain us a little bit about your journey and how you reached here.
Yeah, sure. So first of all, thank you for the invitation. It's a very good thing to be here. Happy to be here. Happy to meet all of you, a lot of ambitious people who want to get to the same journey as I am, and as we are. It's great energy. I love it. Thanks for the invitation. Apart from that, it's great to be here with Syed, someone who is also very inspiring, like running more than 300 units in the USA. That's super cool. And that's something that I can learn a lot from as well. How to run a business on such a big scale. There's a lot to that. That now with 15 units I'm running right now, I did not get to, and Syed is someone who helps me out with that too. So the collaboration goes both ways. And also Bergthor, thanks for also hanging out. It's nice to get to know you. We are pretty much on the same journey, and that's super inspiring. You do things your way, I do things my way. We learn from each other, and such dynamics are really valuable. Yeah. So that being said, my journey started June last year. Well, actually, even before that, during COVID, because during COVID, I escaped the Netherlands. I'm from the Netherlands. And I went to an island in the Caribbean and I rented an Airbnb for a monthly basis. But I rented directly from the landlord because I got to this person through Airbnb and he said, well, let me show you around. And I went to the apartment and he offered me a direct rate. It was cheaper. Okay, let me do that. So I believe I paid less than $2,000 for this apartment a month. Then the apartment right next to the apartment where I was staying, they were hosting short-term guests, but the apartment was identical, right? It was the same apartment. And I looked on Airbnb. So what are the rates? What are these people paying? I was paying less than $2,000 for this apartment. The apartment next door, if I added all the revenues, they were doing more than 4,000, mind you, during COVID. So that made me think like, okay, there's apparently a big margin between the long term, not even long term, midterm, because it's a month that I was renting, and the short term rentals for the apartment next to me. This idea stuck, and I couldn't get rid of the idea. And then there's the idea of Dubai. Dubai managed COVID like in a great way. I think there are a lot of cities, a lot of like countries that could have learned a lot from how the UAE managed COVID. Just being closed for a couple of months, or not even really closed, right? It was a great job how Dubai did that, and triggered me to combine those experiences. So the idea of the opportunity doing rental arbitrage, subleasing, and on the other hand, being in a great place like Dubai where ambitions can really become reality, right? From a desert to what it is today, no other place on this globe has done what Dubai has been doing over the last years. So that's when I started in June with my first apartment. There was a big hassle, right, to start to understand what to do because I'm from the Netherlands. In the Netherlands, you just go to the KVK, the Chamber of Commerce, and you sign up your company, and you walk out of the Chamber of Commerce, and you have a company, right? And you that's what you need to do. And then you sign a tenancy agreement and you just pay the rent on a monthly basis. You transfer it. There's no issue with like checks or any of that. But the issue is you cannot do rental arbitrage in the Netherlands. So that's a bigger issue, actually. So in Dubai, I had to understand how the system works. How do I set up a company? How do I get the right licenses? This was a tough journey because there's more to it than you can find easily online. So that's why I decided also at some point to share what I'm doing and what I'm learning along the way, inspired by guys like Syed and also Bergthor, who have been sharing their journey for a longer time. And yeah, that's something that I've been doing over the last months.
Thank you.
Yeah.
So, can you explain us what's arbitrage?
Yeah, so subleasing or Airbnb arbitrage is rent apartment long term, and then you put that apartment on Airbnb and Bogota.com and more than what you pay long term.
Great. So, explain your story then in Dubai.
So my story, so I'll go a little back. So I'm from Iceland and I was selling insurance for like 3 years on commission, just selling like crazy. And I put all my profit into buying apartments in Iceland to begin with. And I put my third apartment on Airbnb in Iceland and I just made so much profit, so much money from that. I was like, okay, I gotta focus on this Airbnb thing. And then I started Iceland and got to like 20, 25 apartments. And, you know, the market in Iceland is very risky because it's small, the regulations are, you know, always changing. I wanted to go somewhere bigger, somewhere where I can scale more easily. I decided to come to Dubai. And now I'm, you know, like Redeet said, the learning curve is crazy. Learning all the permits and everything like that, it takes a long time. And I moved to the Dubai with a job, actually. I worked with all the company for 3 months and just soaked everything in, was learning as much as possible. And then it ended up not working long term with them. So I just started focusing on my own subleasing. And now I'm at 14 units.
Very good. So, Syed, going back to you, I keep hearing you're such an inspiration for the people who want to do that. So, explain us a little bit what has been the challenges. I mean, because 15, 20, but 300 is a huge number. I mean, in Dubai, you have a handful of companies managing 300, sorry, properties. So, what have been the challenges, the steps to move from 10, 20, 30 to 300?
So that's a good question. So there's a lot of challenges, what I've gone through my experience. So some of the biggest challenges that I've gone through were especially during COVID, right? So that was a big challenge for me, how to get through the COVID. The second one is I have cash flow issues all the time in my business. I have a big seasonal business in Chicago. So my money is made in 4 months. And the rest of the time, I don't make money or I lose 6-figure incomes during that month. So like just right now, I was sitting up there and I got my results for February and I did not want to click it, right? I don't want to ruin my speaking engagement right now and be in a bad mood, right? But I was forecasting around $300,000 loss. I think it came in at $350,000 loss.
You did check it.
And so I had a feeling, but I didn't check it. I didn't want to click it. But that's what I think. Well, hopefully it's not worse than that. Then I'll be in a really bad mood. But cash flow issues is huge. I'm as good as making it to my next summer because I use all my proceeds for growth and my slow season. And I did grow during this time, right? So now all of a sudden I'm going into like May soon with not that much cash in my bank account. And, you know, it takes a toll on you when you're bleeding money every single month, but you're here on Instagram saying that you make $1 million a month, right? So people don't know the cash flow problems that I go through. Another thing is like my human resources, how many people I have in my business, what systems I have in place. The systems that you have in place at a certain unit count changes at every single, like, I don't know, what do you call it, 50 units, 75, 100, 200, 300. And I've made a lot of mistakes. I have overhired a significant amount of people, thinking that I would hit certain targets in 2023 when I thought I was going to hit 17 million of revenue, but I ended up only hitting 11 million of revenue. But the amount of people I had was to have 17 million dollars revenue. So all of a sudden, I'm like, whoa, I'm running with 50 virtual assistants, and people with double the amount of units that I have less virtual assistants than me. So it was like higher than fire, 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 you know? So then I took this big cut and I let go of 15 virtual assistants. I let go of like maybe 5, 7 US resources, and it was business as usual, no hiccup. And I was like, wow, I was spending all this money on people that I did not need. And it took a toll, right? So it's like my margins ended up going low, and like it hurt, right? So issues, but another issue is like now I have like 5 to 10,000 guests coming in on a monthly basis. So like I said, I have some bad people all the time, but those bad people cause 100% of my stress. So these bad people end up giving me lawsuits. I have 5 lawyers. Why do I have 5 lawyers right now for all different situations? Why do I have multiple lawsuits going against me? Why am I at fault for somebody getting hurt at my, like, I guess, yeah, you're at fault. But okay, but obviously I'm gonna feel like I'm not at fault, right? I'm gonna blame the other person. You're neglectful, right? So this is the stress that I have: cash flow issues, liability issues, lawsuits. My landlord telling me I have to keep 30 units, 40 units. A big fire comes in, a brand new development of one of my buildings. There was 300 units. 100 units burned down, but my units didn't. But now my units are valuable to the landlord, and the landlord said, "I'm just gonna lock you out of your units." Sue me. And I'm like, "I'm gonna sue you." Is that okay? Then I'm like, "I'm not gonna sue you. I don't want to go through that. Let's settle, right?" So I go through big problems, you know. So yeah, challenges. So
Okay, so everyone wants to run away now, or not try to scale. But where do you think are the areas of focus? It's selecting the apartment, where we discussed in the previous panel. Is it operational efficiency and automation? Is it revenue management? It's good lawyers.
I mean, you hit the most important things, right? Like, of course, revenue management pricing is probably like one of the most important things. Picking out units. You want to make sure that these units are profitable. You're not paying extra rent because landlords will take advantage of your situation because they understand like you're making money on their unit. Sometimes landlords don't like that. And they'll say market rent is 2,000 when really the market rent's 1,500. And that eats into your margin too, right? So yeah.
So everything.
So it's almost, yeah, but like what my main focus that I spend time on is like landlord relationship. Because that's my business development. I can't give that up to anybody else. So I want to make sure my landlords that I'm with are happy and we're adding units healthy in a healthy way. I feel like I'm getting to a point where I'm getting scared to continuously keep adding because I don't want my apparent landlord be the reason all my whole business goes away, right? Or my 400th unit is a reason that my business ends because something really bad happens. So I go through these like nightmares for that, right? So yeah, so there's a lot of like revenue management, right? Relationships. I spend time with my leadership all the time on a weekly basis. That's like my big thing, what I spend my time on.
And what is the one thing that you do not delegate?
So the one thing is the land relationships. So I was never able to get anybody else to help me get units. I tried, and I hear it all over social media where there's VAs reaching out to landlords and getting units. In my market, it doesn't work like that. Business is done on a handshake. Like they're gonna see you in person, and they'll never make a cold call and make it happen for the units that I get. So the biggest I do is that landlord relationship to make sure bad things don't happen. I was involved in screening a lot. Like I was the last approval, but recently I was getting fed up. I couldn't take it anymore. I ended up pushing that onto somebody else. Another thing is I meet with my leadership team. I use this one method called ELS. It's through this called traction, which changed my life, right? Everyone has that cliche thing they say is like work on your business, not in your business, right? And this really helped me set up a good system. I had to get like a implementer to get me a system in place, but now I know how to run meetings. Now I know how to do scorecards and issues list and KPIs and goals every quarter. So now my work week becomes 2 hours on a Wednesday night, and that's all I do in a weekly basis, besides relationships. So in those 2 hours, it really takes a toll on me. Like I am exhausted. My brain is fried for like a day because I'm back to back making decisions, guiding the ship to the right path, right? And I make wrong decisions all the time, but you hope the few decisions you make right cover the ones that you do wrong.
Great. And in which unit count
Yeah.
you felt that it moved from a business that it was like lifestyle business or something that you were building like our Dubai team here, or into a company and something that needed structure, processes, operations, because that would help
Yeah.
also operators and
Right. So I treated it as a real business right from the start. I wasn't working on like inside the business, talking to guests and cleaning a unit. I never did that. Right away is I hired people in the Philippines. So my first two hires were like virtual assistants in the Philippines. And that is all I know. I don't know how to hire people in the US. My people in the US are, cleaners, runners, handymen, movers, laborers, right? So right away, virtual assistants. It's easy, it's $5 an hour. What is that? I'll take that risk 10 times, right? Because it's like so cheap. So with that is almost like it went viral within itself. You can make a lot of mistakes by, again, hiring too much. I made a bad one, but you hire a couple people, you find out the good ones, you let go of the other ones, right? So like right off the bat, I took this business serious, hired people, created systems, looked into revenue management before revenue management was a thing, looked into you guys call it subleasing, rent to rent or rental arbitrage. I was doing rental arbitrage before the word came up, right? Before I was one of the initial people that were doing this. Nobody did this, right? So, yeah.
so Dubai team, you you follow Syed a lot. So what do you think it's in Dubai from what you see in the US?
So a lot of things. First thing that comes to mind is I feel like the operators in these chunk. Maybe I can speak and everyone hear me. Yeah, so Syed and Hamza and other guys in America, they seem to be expanding so rapidly. Like they all have 300 plus units, and it feels like they can get these group deals so much easier. And in Dubai, you have to take always one at a time. It's very rare that you can find multiple units at a time with one landlord. I mean, of course it happens, but in Dubai, Syed, you have landlords that have like 70 of your units, right? And yeah. So so that's a big difference. What do you see more?
So I think that's indeed a good one. Buildings are owned by individual owners in the USA mostly, right? Here in Dubai, that's not how it works. So, for example, Amar, a developer, builds a building and then you can buy it as individuals. So you need to deal with more people growing your portfolio. You can find landlords who have multiple units, and it's a big thing to build relationships with them and scale as you go. That's my strategy. I have also couple of landlords, actually one who has like 12 of my units with one landlord, and I'm adding some more with the same one. So that helps. Second thing is finance, cash flow. In the USA, you can get like a credit card, 0% interest, and finance your whole operation and build your whole business without putting any money up front. Don't forget about it in Dubai. You need to have a significant amount of cash to start doing rental arbitrage, doing subleasing. And also, you even need to pay the rent up front, maybe for a year. It's what a lot of landlords ask. If you're lucky, 2, 3, 4, or more checks. But the cash flow issue in Dubai is the second thing that I think is very different compared to the USA.
Yeah, that's probably the big thing. Another thing is Syed talks a lot about concessions. He's able to get 2 or 3 months for free with his rents in America. I've never seen that happen here in Dubai. You can maybe get 2 weeks. Maybe in the summer you can get a month, maybe two. I haven't tried it. And so that's another big thing.
So my opinion on what they said right now is they are starting off in their business. You know, they have 14 units, 15 units at the moment. Just wait for some time. That relationship that I have with landlords, it'll come to you. Like this is what you have right now, but you guys are making that like, you know, trust online, right? And trust in your actual business. So at any given time, all you have to do is find that one person, just like I found that one person who I have 200 units with, right? So give it some time and it could happen. But initially it's hard when you're in the first starting because you're not having exposure to that people, right? And then the argument with the concession thing, like Dubai market is hot from my understanding, right? There's going to be cycles in this market. Wait for that time where landlords are motivated and wait for the, you know, the summer months. Wait for where there's too much inventory in the market. That's when you could capitalize on the concessions. I don't always get 2, 3 months for free, but there are certain times in the year that I do. There's some times where the landlord's saying no rent free because even my competition is taking on units without getting rent for free. So it's like they'll get it anyway. They don't need me, right? So that's my response to that.
Maybe to add to that, I've been managing to get for some of my units a month of concessions. And that's mostly in new buildings, right? If the building is new and completely empty and there's a lot of supply, then the landlords are motivated indeed to just get rid of their units. They need someone to start paying for it. So you either sign a 1-year lease and they're certain that they're going to get their money, or they might have to wait and leave the apartment on Property Finder, the Bizzle, et cetera, et cetera. So the new buildings will help getting the concessions and also the relationship with the landlords. Like I said, like 12 of my units are the same landlord. At the same time, I'm adding 6 new ones. So I'm going to be at 21 in about 2 weeks. And 3 of the 6 new ones are also the same landlord. That's also where I get some flexibility as for concessions. So I think it's possible, but not for your initial deal with landlords.
Even if you are extremely innovative, social media relationships matters. No, it's about a person to person business as well.
That's my biggest belief. That's all I know. I know that the only way to do business is if you shake hands with somebody. So that's what I believe in.
So, Syed, going back to you, you're very successful in the US. So why Dubai? Why you wanna come here and compete with these guys?
So I don't look at it as competition. I look at it as a team thing. I'm not looking to do what I did in Chicago over here. By no means. It's too risky for me to do something like that. I'm happy with the money I'm making. But when I came here, I did fall in love with Dubai. Like I was mentioning, people are driven, ambitious, high energy. People come here with money and they want to make more money. And I was losing that with people over back at home. So the views are good, the people are good, the energy is good. So I want to be here. So I don't like coming here to sit on a beach. I don't like that. I need to do business. Business is fun for me. It's a game, right? So I'm coming here to start the business, to have some presence here, to be able to come speak at an event, to meet with good people, to meet with these guys, you know, that's why I'm here.
Excellent. Okay, so before opening the round of questions, I know Bergthor loves questions. So any question within the panel? You wanna ask questions or?
I wanna add one thing, Syed. You say you were making about $500 per month on average in each of your unit. I'm aiming $1,000 a month here in Dubai. So yeah, you said that we're making more per unit here in Dubai, but I wanted to ask you, if you would go into the luxury units in Chicago, like me and Redeet are doing here in Dubai, do you think you would make $2,000 a month?
Oh, 100%. Like, if my rents are averaging around 2,000, there's something you can make on that, something like that. But if I started getting into the 4,000, 6,000, yeah, you like double the amount of, like the amount, but you're taking on more risk. And it's almost like I'm happy with the niche product that I have. You make money in niches, right? You don't need to have the luxury, the super nice ones. I could have low quality ones and make money still too, right? My lifestyle might be luxury for myself, but that doesn't mean my business has to match that, right? So for me, is what I know. I get scared if I see a $6,000 rent, but maybe that would be my thing over here. Maybe I'll like it over here. Let's see.
And actually, connecting this with the first panel, I mean, everyone agreed that where there is most profit in Dubai is JBC, JLT, which are more budget areas than the premium. You are proving that there is also profit in the high luxury, which I agree. Maybe where there is no profit is in the mid range in Dubai.
So you mentioned like, does panel have a question? I have a question for you guys. So what is the plan for social media? What is your goals? What, like, why social media? Because I selfishly want to know for myself.
For me, when I started posting on Instagram, I had no idea anyone was gonna have interest in it. So, and then it just blew up. And then I just said, okay, let's just keep documenting. And I haven't really thought about what I'm gonna do with it. But I know it's brought me a lot of good things. It's connected me with so many good people like you guys, and connected me with you and so many other good people. It's helped me get, better deals on furniture, agents are more willing to work with me, and I'm more presentable to owners to give me their apartment. So it's brought so many good things already. So I'm just gonna keep documenting and see where it goes. There's no really end plan, but yeah, we'll see what happens.
So no coaching, no course, no nothing like that.
Like, I'm so worried about coaching both because it's gonna take so much of my time, and I'm already like all of my time is subleasing. I need more time to dedicate to subleasing. So if I'm gonna go do coaching, that's gonna hurt my subleasing. So I'm scared of that, and also I'm also scared about being responsible for somebody else's success because it is hard to sublease in Dubai. So that's also what I'm worried about. But I know a lot of people are making a lot of money that way. So I mean, it's not off the table, but it's not something I'm doing right now.
So for me, the initial idea, you motivated me actually to start documenting my journey and posting about what I do in Dubai, and obviously also Bergthor. Um, the I started at some point after I got a lot of questions in my DMs, a lot of questions I understand, and I've been through myself as well, right? Because a lot of things are unclear when you start out your business. So I started this community. I don't do one-on-one coaching or mentoring because it will take a lot of time. I agree, and I have to focus on my business. I also do revenue share, so that also takes a lot of time from the subleasing part of other businesses too. So I had to find a way. How am I able to help people out without it taking too much of my time? With social media, I started a community with a group of people right now. There are, I believe, 50 people in the community of like future hosts who I can help out with my advice, and share and document my journey in a more intimate way, so to say.
So one last thing, like when I came here and I saw the engagement in Bergthor's social media, and then now even Redeet's social media, like the people in Dubai like hearing people's success. They like forwarding the videos to somebody else. They like commenting. I was shocked. Like I was shocked to the point where it's like, wait, I want to be part of this too, right? And he just started, and I see like crazy potential in like what he's already done, viral video, and it's just like amazing to see like the growth of him. In like a month or a couple of weeks, he's gonna have more than me, and it took me like a year, right? So, uh, I am excited. I'm excited to see both of their stuff. I'm excited to see what they do with it.
But actually, you are creating industry in Dubai, so not social media, but I think it's becoming a thing, right? I mean, people talk about it in traditional real estate, so congratulations for that. So let's open the questions. I think there are going to be hundreds of questions, so we'll try to limit a little bit the time for questions. So the faster, the better you ask.
Hey guys, Mo from Stacia. Firstly, thank you for sharing your experiences and your knowledge, and Syed for the trauma dump earlier. That has us all very motivated to face the challenges. One thing that I do want to ask, so we're a property management company that's just currently managing properties on behalf of homeowners. Obviously, we want to get into the subleasing space. However, now in the market, as you guys know, rental prices are super high. So what I want to know is, as a operator, how do you mitigate your risks in the next couple of years with where the market is going?
This is for subleasing your question. How do you mitigate the
Subleasing, yeah,
risk
yeah.
if
So
you want to
you
move
have
from the
rental
revenue
prices.
share to the subleasing space, right? That's your
Yeah.
question. Okay. So I think if you do the subleasing correctly, you make more money subleasing than doing revenue sharing, right? So that's a good thing. With more income, there will be more risks involved as well. You try to mitigate them by signing an addendum, for example, saying in case something changes in regulations, that you can get out of the tenancy contract without any penalty, such things, right? So you try to make the right agreements with the landlords. That's one thing. On the other hand, you need to have enough cash on hand. Just like Syed has just been saying, like $350,000 in 1 month of loss. Now, it's not that extreme, but you want to make sure that you can, your business is strong enough, your cash flow is strong enough to survive low season, survive summer. In revenue sharing, you won't make a loss. You won't lose money in summer because 20%, 25%, or that's going to be yours either way. If you do subleasing, you're still going to be stuck with a rental check for 3 months upfront in August when you're not making like any revenue hardly, right? So you need to be aware of you're going to have months where you make 3 times the rent and months where you might be even making less than once the rent. So have some cash on hand, have the rights agreements. That would be my advice. But maybe Bergthor or Syed have
I
additions.
would add, connecting to the panel before, is use a lot of data and understand the apartment very well, property, who's your target market and demand, and do a lot of homework. And that also is a good idea.
I guess the more direct question is here is, do you guys feel like entering the market now at the stage
Yeah.
that it is now? How do you guys feel?
Yeah,
about that?
so since I came to Dubai and started, the rents are definitely the highest they've ever been. When I started, it was cheaper, and I've seen them gradually increase ever since I started. And my plan was to add like 5 or 10 apartments this month, and I was on the pace to do that. But then I was like, damn, these rents are getting so high. Maybe I should just like take a breather, improve the units that I already have, and maybe just add like 1, 2, 3, 4 units this month, because I'm hoping, like everybody else at subleasing, that the rents are, going to come down, or at least it's going to become a little bit easier to negotiate with the landlords as we get closer to the summer. But even at the rental rates now, I know I'm gonna make a profit that I'm happy with, but it's definitely more challenging than with how the rents were before, if that helps.
So I'll tell you from my experience of not having anything here and what I'm looking at. So 2 years ago, Airbnb in Dubai, there was about 6,000 Airbnbs in Dubai. And last time I checked, like a month ago, there was 29,000. So it goes to show you there's growth of like 5x. And to me, that's scary. It's like, wow, there's so much supply pouring into the market. Can the demand keep up? But then I hear success stories like Redeet and Bergthor saying that, oh, they're still making healthy margins. And Bergthor likes margin of $2,000 cash flow per unit per month. And that's like 4x of what 5x of what I'm making sometimes, right? So, one, it's like, okay, maybe you guys are used to big margins. Maybe that's not real. That's not going to be sustainable. I'll take $1,000. I'll take $600. You know, I made a business at that, right?
But what's the job
Yeah,
already? I
that's
mean,
what
you make 2,000 or 8,000, while you make 500 over
Yeah,
2,000.
yeah, like I have to
Even though I make more money per unit, I have to invest like a lot more
yeah.
for each unit.
True.
Yeah. Dubai, I mean, we have been 7 years in the market, and today it's probably the most challenging moment for holiday homes because the long-term rentals are extremely strong. That's a fact. I mean, property managers struggle to convince the host and the property owner to stay. We need to talk about flexibility when selling. You can use the apartment, you can diversify. You need to wait for the next wave of returns like the last 3 years. But it's a bit it's challenging today. I mean, that would be my answer. Bergthor said it a little bit. Yeah, now it's challenging.
Yeah.
So you can select like the unicorn and find the perfect apartment and do it.
Yeah,
If
honestly,
you are getting a
I get scared all the time that I make it look super easy on my Instagram, and I'm just telling everybody, go do this, go this. But that's far from the truth. I try to take every opportunity that I can to say that this is actually hard. And revenue management is probably a lot. No, not revenue management. Property management, like you're doing, is probably a lot better business model because there's no risk. You're gonna make money no matter what. But if you are a really good operator and you feel like you can beat everybody else in the Airbnb market, then yeah, you can make more subleasing. And also, it's a lot less work because you don't have to manage the owner. That's what I'm worried about if I'm managing apartments for other people, is each owner is going to be so stressed because how I'm doing is how much he's making. So he's going to be so stressed and pouring his stress onto me. So that's why I don't like management and I like subleasing better, even though it's more risk.
sorry, to adding to that also, and we talk about that episode of the podcast. Subleasing 14, 15, 20 apartments is different than managing or subleasing 300. So the profitability doesn't grow as you grow the number of apartments. So you treat 10 apartments as your baby, you pour a lot of love, but when you need to scale 50, you cannot decorate all the apartments perfect and everything. You delegate, you have
Right.
50, 60, 70 employees. So scale also reduces a bit the return on investment.
So
But-
even like on a daily basis, I have a report that comes to me of how many listings of mine are suspended. So, you know, it ranges like 5 to 7 sometimes because you get one bad review, 1 star, Airbnb suspends your account for a week or two, you know?
Bergthor gets upset when he gets 4 star because you have all 5 stars. But if you manage 300, I mean, it's impossible to have all 5 stars. So this impact also the revenue and the profitability you are having today, I believe.
I think that's also to add to that. Once you grow a company, you need to standardize. You need to have the SOPs in place, and that's what I've been working on, and I'm still working on right now to make sure that my SOPs are watertight as much as I can, waterproof. So if when I increase from now 21 next month to 30, 40, 50, 60, etc., my team will be able to run the properties without my direct interference. So growing a company requires standardization because you will need to inform your team on what to do. You need to instruct your team, and you can only do that by having SOPs in place. And that's something obviously that Syed has been doing for a long time. And I'm working on as well right now. I believe Bergthor as well, right? So standard operating procedures will decrease profit per unit as you grow your portfolio.
Absolutely.
Thank you, guys.
Hi, thank you for your honesty about sharing the pitfalls. I mean, you can get a person who trashes the place, and then it's all on you to, do it. I understand in the way there is insurance for this, but how can you screen better in the way? Probably you can shed some light also because you work with the regulators.
Yeah, screening is a big thing because the market is moving to direct bookings, right? Before we had the Airbnb with like pre-approvals, but with the booking.com competition, direct bookings is the way. So I would say it's more about having a proper, understanding your market, right? He targets market probably is more prone to have problems, but you go hyper luxury. So you need to understand which is your market, which type of apartment attract which type of guests. So rather than a screening, that is going to be impossible in the future with the direct bookings, no, the instant bookings. Sorry, it's more preparing the processes, training your team, doing a check-in, doing the documentation check. So all of the processes around that.
Other than verifying the passport and the person is actually the same one checking in, what more can you do
Well,
with
you have a
some
lot of things.
practice?
For example, the number of people in an apartment, right? You can have a 3-bedroom apartment and you can have 6 people, you can have 10 people in the apartment. 10 people, you will make much more revenue. But probably someone staying 12 people in a 3-bedroom apartment, the risk of doing something that destroys the apartment is higher. So you need to trade off short-term revenue for maybe more better guests, for example. So there's a lot of elements around the whole company, how you market, your target, how you decorate it, all this that is important, that attract guests and
But in US, you have some bureau who have screenings, right? They screen for you, you pay for that service.
So
We have
there-
something
yeah.
similar in Dubai.
Yeah, there are screening softwares in the US, and I don't know what if there are in Dubai, but there's companies called AutoHost and Guest Ranger, which I started off using these ones, but I ended up seeing like the cost of it being too much for me. So I ended up making my own internal way of doing it. But my process that I do is I start the conversation. It's totally different in Dubai, but I'll give you my example of what I have in Chicago. So I start the conversation, ask the reason for their stay, who are they coming with, what is their age group, things like that. And you judge somebody how they respond to your questions, their sentence structure, their ages, right? And also it's less screening when it's my busy season. It's more screening when it's my bad season because my prices are so high. When you have high prices, you get good people. Prices are low, you get bad people. So sometimes if they have reviews, it's easier. But we take the first name, last name, and we go on Google. We look up their social media. We screen through that a little bit, to make sure this person's a good person. Then when they actually check in, there's things that like I even noticed on Redeet's Airbnb because I stayed at his Airbnb one time. And by the way, most beautiful views. I was in love. My family was in love with the views. But when we checked in, he had like a Ring camera. I don't know what brand he had, but he had a Ring camera on the way and check in. Like you could see how many people are coming in, what type of people are coming in. It'll lower your like stress to see, hey, it's a nice family. It's okay. You'll be okay. One thing. There's other technology that has sound monitoring where if it goes above a certain decibel, it'll automatically send a message to somebody to like, okay, you need to lower it down. There's like a smoking devices to find. There's things that can help you manage your thing.
Yeah, that's what I wanted to say as well. The noise sensors that we're using are great, right? So once someone makes too much noise, the volume is too high for example, 15 minutes, they get an automated SMS. For 15 minutes later, they get an automated call. 15 minutes, so there's like steps. If someone gets a message like, after 15 minutes of loud music, like, hey, this is your host speaking. Can you please turn down the volume because your neighbors are hearing your music or whatever, right? So if you inform them in an early stage, they will be aware that they're being monitored and it will decrease your potential damages as well.
One question here and one question here, and then we'll have some time for networking. Huh?
Yeah, Rohan from Stacia here. Obviously, when you sublease, a landlord needs to provide an NOC. However, one sort of challenge I've faced is not many landlords are open to providing that or even allowing that. So the question I've got is that a challenge you've also faced, and how do you overcome that?
Yeah. So for me, I don't spend time trying to convince anybody that, Airbnb is good and this or that. I just look for the landlord. They're already okay with it. So if they say no, I'm just say, okay, no problem. I look for somebody else. And the biggest thing is just trying to show them that you know what you're doing. You know, if you have already an Airbnb apartment, show them your Airbnb apartment, show them how well it's set up, the reviews and everything like that. So it's all about just being credible. And obviously my social media has helped me out tremendously with that. I feel like at least 25% of owners or more are okay with subleasing when I ask them. But obviously, if you don't have any apartments, that's going to make it harder. The first units that I got here in Dubai, I did in collaboration with the company I was working with here in Dubai. So that helped me out. So I showed that company, they were very credible. So that helped me get my first 2 units. And then after that, I could show the landlords that I already have units. So that helped me.
I think that's true. Credibility is super important, and I think all of us, we have like a good social media account, and that helps. If you don't have that, because I didn't have that for my first 14 units, right? If you don't have that, just come across as a professional company, not just someone who wants to take their apartment and put it on Airbnb and let guests throw parties, right? Have a company name, have a company website, have a corporate presentation, list why you're a better tenant than a regular tenant. Like if you have this documentation and you just send it to the agent or to the landlord, it will increase your percentage from maybe like 5% success rate to 15 or 20% success rate, or even more if you grow a personal brand perhaps as well. But the biggest thing, the most important thing is come across as a professional company who knows what they're doing, also with their own clientele, not only Airbnb parties, right? No Airbnb parties actually. So I think that's the most important part. Be credible, be a professional, and you will be able to convince fastly.
Thank you. Well, 2 questions.
Good morning. My name's Matthew Young. I'm a property management consultant specializing in holiday homes and also blocks of flats, apartment buildings, and individual dwellings. You've been very honest with the numbers, which is so refreshing. But what I'm wondering is, do you do the whole management piece yourself? And then the income that you save yourself, is that included in your profit? Do you separate that off to monitor the income from the rents versus the income from the management?
I'm not sure I understand.
Okay.
Yeah, maybe you can repeat indeed.
Sure. Okay. So you all basically take on the position of a landlord or an owner, right? Because you have this asset to rent out. This asset needs managing. So you receive an income from renting it out 2 nights, 3 nights, 4 months, whatever it is, but it also needs management. So you need to organize the cleaning, maintenance, paying bills, etc., etc. Now, if you do that yourself, that will make your income higher. But do you actually monitor how much you save yourself by doing the management yourself? Or do you give the management to a company, for example, like the chap over there, that for property management company, because that will reduce your profits?
Gotcha. If I understand your question correctly, it is you want to know whether we factor in the cost for managing the property ourselves,
Your potential salary.
potential
Do
salary.
you do the management yourself?
Yeah, so if your question is as an individual, no, I don't communicate with guests, I don't deal with maintenance, but I have a team, and this team is paid a salary. So that's cost for the company. So my profit, the end of the line, is going to be after deduction of employment costs.
Right. Okay. You keep it in-house. That's the point.
Right? Some things you do in-house, some things you outsource, depending on what you think is smart to take in-house.
Sure.
Yeah, but you cannot outsource the management. That's just going to be too costly. But you have to hire your own team to manage the apartment, and that's all factored into the profit and loss.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I understand what you're saying. Like if you were taken out of your business completely, like if you sold your business to somebody else, like will it still be sustainable at the same margins, right? Like so in my P&L, I have a salary from my business. I gave myself $125,000 a year salary from my business, which that 125,000 can be if I hired a CEO for my business. So that's included. I also have other junk in my P&L. Like I have my sister, my sister's been getting paid for 2 years and she hasn't worked in years, you know? Yeah, so then there's other stuff that I'm burning in from my social media, of my like I'm spending in my business. So there's junk in my P&L. But these guys have so much higher margins. Like even if they probably don't have that W-2 or what we call a W-2 salary, if they don't have that, they could put it in and their margins are still way high. So even though it's not a line item yet in P&L, I think, but like it's still healthy margins,
And-
way healthier than mine.
And also to challenge it, the model, I think depreciation is not included in your profits, is it?
Depreciation of the
The
furniture.
furniture.
Yeah, so I have a maintenance line and I put in the depreciation of the furniture. Maybe it should be higher, but I put like an estimation of how much the furniture, it will
It's
cost.
free cash flow without the investment of furniture, almost, because I think it's $1,000 you put on maintenance
Yeah,
or 15 apartments.
I mean, yeah, maybe it should be higher, but you know, maintaining the furniture is a lot cheaper than buying it, you know, all new, again, with the designer, the cost of setup and all that.
So in my P&L and the rules back in America, you write off furniture as an accelerated depreciation. So that's
Mm.
lowering down my net income. So
The first year or how fast?
sure, yeah, it's like section 179, they call it, or something like
Here
that.
we don't have tax.
You don't have the, oh, you don't have tax. Yeah.
Yeah. We don't have this problem.
Or the sun, right? So,
Yeah.
coming, so I'm trying to
We think about that.
yeah, I'm trying to deal with my accountant about how to write off the furniture, right? So he's like, furniture, that's 10 years. No, 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 no. This sofa is not gonna sustain 10 years of check-ins and check-outs.
We want audited financial in the Instagram then.
Thank you.
Last question. Khalas.
Hello guys, this is Ahmad. I'm pretty new here to Dubai. I was really relaxed to open a holiday home company and work with the Airbnb and bookings and etc. But actually, after you was saying that you're not be coaching because to be successful, it's very hard and running an Airbnb business is so hard. And yesterday I saw a reel posted by Redeet saying that most people fail doing this. So is that hard? And why do you think it's so hard and most people fail?
I think in business in general, a lot of people fail, right? Because you go through somewhat of a dip, you know, you get like, you want to start, and when you start, you either think that you know everything and you make mistakes and you go bankrupt or you lose money, or you get demoralized because you won't have overnight success. When I started with my first unit, it took me a long while to get to my first unit. And that could have demoralized me and stopped me from even pursuing that. Even if you pursue, the question is, are you doing the right thing? So do you have the right knowledge, the right experience, or do you learn from the people with the right experience to not make the mistakes they already made? Because you're going to compete with people who have this experience and have the knowledge. There is a huge competition in and you need to stand out. You need to do better than the holiday home operators with 100, 200, 300 units. Otherwise, you're not going to win. So it's first having the right motivation and mindset, be able to persevere, continue even if you have some setbacks. And second, also having the right knowledge to not make the same mistakes that other people already made. If you do that correctly, then I believe you can still make a good amount of money here. If you don't, you lose.
Yeah, so I reward all of my like success to my experience in Iceland. I was doing this for 3 years in Iceland before I moved to Dubai. And if I, in the beginning in Iceland, I made so many mistakes. And if I would have made these mistakes here in Dubai, I would have not made any profit. So, and Redeet, he didn't have Airbnb business before, but he had a very successful, you know, software business, and he's just a really good businessman, so that's why he's been successful so fast. But I would have not been successful in Dubai if I would have started right away in Dubai. That's for sure. But you can do it. You just have to be obsessed about it and really focus on trying to get better at pricing, get better at like you setting up your listing correctly and everything like that. So it's definitely a skill, just like anything else.
And talk to Mr. Alfred as well.
That's a good start. Yeah.
So, for one, nothing in life is easy. If a business is too easy and everyone will be successful at it, it's never going to happen that way, right? Number two is like a lot of the stuff these guys said. You believe in yourself. Like you got to believe you're a winner and you're going to make it happen. You got to be obsessed with your business and say you're going to win, even if it's your first time doing the business. And Bergthor was saying like he doesn't want to make sure that like he's the reason something's not successful or something like that. So I give like this example of some of my other friends in the US space that are doing coaching. And this one guy, Hamza, you guys probably know, right? He has a big coaching course program, right? And maybe 5% of his students end up starting the business and being successful. Those 5% of students are going to be die hard for him. He's the most amazing guy. He's give him the best reviews. He did everything perfect. I love him, right? Anything he says, they get excited for. But the other 95% of the people will say, you're a scam. You said this was going to be easy. I was going to be able to be successful. I'm going to sue you because I didn't get an Airbnb. So to me, does that mean is he a scam or is he a success, right? Just because you didn't make it happen doesn't mean that this guy did a bad job, right? But in the US, there's a lot of coaches, people that have 1 unit, 5 units, people that have no clue what they're talking about. And they use all the big taglines like automated business, guaranteed income, risk-free, all these crazy terms just so they can monetize off their social media and course and stuff. Like, I don't believe that if somebody says something like that, guaranteed or risk-free, if those words get in there, I don't believe it.
Run.
So yeah, so when he's that's why it's stopping him. Like, I think at some point after like we like convince him, like there's gonna be a point where he ends up saying, okay, fine, I'll dive in and do it. But not all the students are gonna be successful, and you just gotta live with that.
There is no such thing as overnight success.
Right, right. In America, you'll see it all over social media. It's everywhere. There's like 100 Airbnb gurus that will tell you how to do an Airbnb business. Do they know what they're talking about? No, I don't think so. Some of them do only.
Last question.
Cool. Thanks, guys. I'll keep this super short and sweet as well. So I've been here for the last 20 odd years. I've been in property for the last 12, investing. We're now branching out into subleasing in the subleasing world. Twofold question. One, operational challenge day to day. What's the biggest efficiency you guys have found from 0 to 14, 0 to 21? US, I know, slightly different market. And then net operating income. Looking at that on a percentage basis now versus where you forecast that 12, 18 months down track, and you're talking 0, 50 to 100, 100 to 500. What do you do to adjust those margins? What are you looking to aim to achieve? I know, Syed, you mentioned about 10% there. I see some of you guys hitting 25, 30, 35, 40%. What for you is the norm? So just twofold there.
So honestly, I've never had a partner. I've never had any major investor. I've never had to explain my business in such depth, ROI and all of that, I just know what works for me and I explain it, I'm just sharing my thoughts. So I have a hard time asking your question or answering your question, honestly, but my goal is just to, make healthy margins on each apartment, make like $2,000 a month on each apartment. And hopefully that's going to grow with time. Hopefully, the Airbnb market's going to get, bigger. I'm going to make more revenue, hopefully. You can probably answer that.
No, I can add to it, I think. So as for the operational challenges, how I train my team is that journey of the guest very important. There's this guest journey with touch points, and anything can happen from the moment of booking until moment of leaving a review, and managing the unexpected things that happen in this journey. That's the biggest challenge. That could range from a guest who does not speak English, or and the person at the reception does not speak Arabic, for example, to a maintenance issue, to the lock does not work, to the whatever. Anything can happen, and being able to respond to the things that happen quickly and swiftly, that's the biggest operational challenge. Money-wise, what is a good margin for me? I'm growing the company continuously. I didn't take out one single dirham. Everything goes back into investing in new units, et cetera, et cetera. So it's kind of tough to name an exact percentage, but in business in general, I would be happy with the margin of 20%, right? If I would make a 20% margin overall, I would be happy. Like my revenue, 20% of it being a profit, that would be good.
So, even though I'm not in this market and at the 300 level, my margins are like, I say 10%, but it really, if you add back my salary, sister salary, social media stuff, junk, all this junk, maybe it's like 14%. But over the years, it definitely decreased, right? As I'm scaling and adding and like, I'm taking on deals, bad deals and all that stuff, right? Like I said, when I first started, I was making 3 times rent. Now my average rent to revenue ratio is like 1.9 now, right? So, over the times, I was getting that 25 in my first year, 2 years, I was getting like that 25% P&L. But when you start scaling a business, margins decreasing and decreasing. The problem is that you have to compare your business to other like businesses in the industry. So recently, when I said my margins are that percentage, I talked to my guy Hamza and Victor, and I'm like, hey, what's your margins at? And then they were showing way higher. So that took the breath out of me, So I was like, okay, how many people do you have? What am I doing wrong is what I was trying to figure out. People is what I did wrong, right? So I started cutting, right? So I increased my margins, make them more healthy. But there's businesses, if you say you get a 10% margin in America, they'll be like, wow, that's the greatest thing in the world, right? Because I hear like McDonald's or like something like a restaurant, like 4 or 5% margins or something like that, right? So it's really relative. Like at the make the cash flow, if you make I want to make $1 million, right? I want to make 2 million. If I make that, I don't care if it's 9, 12, 15, 20, 30,
Okay. So with that, we're going to close the panel. Thanks a lot. I think it has been very engaging, fun, and educational for everyone. Thanks for coming. Remember, scale rentals, Mr. Alfred demo, scan the QR codes, and thanks for coming. And I hope to see you again in the next event. Thank you very much.
Next Gen Rentals is brought to you by our main sponsor, Mr. Alfred. Mr. Alfred specializes in making vacation rental management effortless.